People have been asking, when will Democrats fight back? Well, let me give you an example of Democrats fighting back. The Senate Judiciary Democrats have just filed a letter with the D.C. Bar saying that Ed Martin, who's the United States Attorney for Washington, D.C., needs to be disciplined for his actions. Let's bring in Harry Litman, who was a United States Attorney for the Western District in Pennsylvania, to break this all down. Harry, let me just go over what this letter is accusing Ed Martin of. And you and I have been covering this guy, Ed Martin, this person who's now leading the D.C. office, who has no experience as a federal prosecutor, which is unheard of, never happened before getting this job to lead the federal prosecutors in Washington, D.C., which is like one of the most powerful offices within the federal prosecutorial divisions. Let's just take a look. What they're saying here in this letter to the Disciplinary Council is that we're writing to express our grave concerns of the actions taken by Edward Robert Martin Jr. It goes on to say that before he was leading the prosecutors and Trump picking him for that role in D.C., he was better known for representing the January 6th insurrectionists. And while he was the lead prosecutor in D.C., he technically was still representing some of these January 6th insurrectionists, did not recuse himself while dismissing cases against his own client, which the Senate Judiciary Committee says violates one of the key canons, Rule 3.8 of the state bar rules. It goes on to then also discuss some of the other violations that they're alleging that Ed Martin made. And these are a lot of the tweets and posts that you and I were covering, Harry, like when he would tweet out to Elon Musk threatening, "We will pursue any and all legal action against anyone who impedes your work or threatens your people." February 7th, tweets and letters to Elon Musk saying, "If people are discovered to have broken the law or even acted simply unethically, we will investigate them." February 14th tweet threatening special counsel Jack Smith and his legal representation, quote, "Save your receipts, Smith and Covington," the law firm Covington and Burling, "will be in touch soon." February 19th announcement announcing Operation Whirlwind, a new initiative to investigate and prosecute alleged threats to government officials, which includes sending letters of inquiry to 2 Democratic members of Congress, threatening them as well because of their criticism of Musk. And with the Democrats in the Judiciary Committee saying, hello, we still have rules here, and these extrajudicial threats, this isn't the wild, wild west. You can't do stuff like that. So, Harry, break it down. What's the process like now that they've been reported, or Ed Martin's been reported to the state bar? You have more experience than about anybody, since you were a federal prosecutor who led a department.
Although I'm happy to say was never the subject of a bar complaint, but you're totally right. So this guy, Ed Martin, we've covered him before. He's got a long list of improprieties. In some ways, what they're bringing to the bar attention isn't even the worst stuff he's done, because he's done things that are not technically against his bar canons, but are obviously improper use of prosecutorial power and going after Democrats, firing his, the big episode was he wanted to do an investigation of an EPA contract from the Biden administration, but there was no predication at all. And his top criminal prosecutor in the criminal division resigned over it, and he kept trying. But even in addition to all those things, he's completely ignorant of the bar rules. The most lawyering he's done has been in favor of some of the January 6th defendants, whom he's represented. Mainly, he's a political guy. He was chief of staff to the governor of Missouri, but he's done some things that are just third rail as far as attorneys' responsibilities. Maybe the biggest, they said it out there. What you were reading from, Ben, is a whole other litany. But the guy is representing a January 6th defendant whose case he dismisses without having withdrawn from representation. So that the actual client there who's getting screwed is the Department of Justice. You can't go in and have your other client and then purport to be zealously representing the Department of Justice. That is a client. In addition, there was another January 6th defendant, and he ordered up this investigation of a whole cluster of cases, but he hadn't withdrawn from representing that guy. In addition, he has been in touch with January 6th defendants. Guess what? You know this as well as I do. If you work for the government, you can't just reach out and talk directly to January 6th defendants or to criminal defendants on the other side who may have lawyers. He's just completely attorney and switched over to the other side. And so what all 10 members, but only the Democratic members of the Judiciary Committee have done is serve it up to the DC, basically the bar authorities there. Hey, you need to look into this and potentially sanction him. And he has some really raw and flagrant violations of bar stuff, but it's not even the biggest kind of strikes against him, which are for the way he's abused his prosecutorial power. He is a guy, he's been nominated. He's told his office, call him U.S. attorney, but he's really interim U.S. attorney. And Republican senators have been starting to murmur, I don't know if we can get this guy confirmed. He has really drawn a lot of focus to himself and has been acting nakedly as Trump's lawyer and making people in his office react in the same way. So along the way, he's also completely ignored a series of bar rules. And then the stuff at the end, I think it's like an 8-page letter. But they list all these things that he has done in addition that, have featured in the headlines. And it'll be interesting to see what he does now. Does he redouble? When he's been challenged before, he seems to redouble his efforts. When his criminal chief quit on him, he tried to do it himself. And the magistrate said, there's no predication here. That should have been enough to make him stop. I mean, he should have never taken that extra step, but he still kept going. Here, they've got him, I think, pretty solidly dead to rights on the bar stuff, but maybe he tries to fight it and launch some argument about, Donald Trump wants me to do it, so I can do what I want. But he's in a delicate position, Ben, because he wants to be the U.S. attorney. And if the bar has sanctioned him in some way when he served up, it's a pretty obvious reason to give to a couple Republican senators, which is all it would take to say maybe we shouldn't support this guy. And what is, as you mentioned, not only one of the most important, the largest, 300 plus attorneys, mine was like 50, in the entire Department of Justice. So he's setting a tone that is really permeating that office and somewhat the whole department.
I would say tone that is attacking the Department of Justice, destroying it from within.
That's right.
Eroding its norms. But then he's not done yet. Kind of like with Trump's grievance tour and retribution. It's like Ed Martin, who never really made it as a lawyer, who's now been given this position, wants to take it out on law schools and other institutions.
That's the latest, right?
So the latest was that Ed Martin attacked the law school that I went to, the Georgetown University Law Center, among others. And he sends them this letter, right out of, it looks like, Soviet Russia. And this is a real letter from this guy we're talking about. He writes to—
It's the second letter. He misaddressed the first one, but go ahead.
He sends this one to, the current dean at Georgetown University Law. And he goes, it's come to my attention reliably that Georgetown Law School is teaching and promoting DEI. This is unacceptable. What the hell are you talking about? This is unacceptable.
This is what a U.S. attorney does? Really?
What a U.S. attorney does. I have begun an inquiry into this, a criminal investigation, saying that Georgetown Law is teaching DEI. It's ridiculous. I welcome your response. First, have you eliminated all DEI from your school and its curriculum? Second, if DEI is found in your course or teaching in any way, will you move swiftly to remove it? At this time, you should know that no applicant for or fellows programs or summer internships or employment in our office who is a student or affiliated with a law school or university that continues to utilize DEI will be considered. And look, I give credit to the dean of the Georgetown University Law Center, who basically said, go to hell. And if this is your position, let us know, because we'll go to court and we'll sue you for this. Basically,
I mean, he says more than that, right? Bill Traynor. Yeah, you should be proud of your dean, because he calls him out. I mean, point one, what is a U.S. attorney doing trying to tell schools what kinds of programs or initiatives they can have? And it's such a crazy over-the-top position, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the most conservative Georgetown student. If the school trying to put pressure on the school, there's no argument of any crime. There's nothing that comes within his jurisdiction. But it's also, as Traynor points out, a flat violation of the First Amendment. The government is trying to tell the schools what they can teach and what they can't. You may not do that. That's such a clear violation. For, there's the great Jackson opinion saying nothing could be clearer than you can't tell then the government can't tell you what to think or write or whatever. So it's a flagrant First Amendment violation. Are they really going to mix it up and get into it, or will Martin try to walk it back? But that Traynor letter really elegant, succinct, and basically he says, I look forward to your telling me that in fact you're not going to be doing any of this unconstitutional stuff. So, it ain't over yet. It'll be interesting to see what Ed Martin, not unlike Bill Traynor, a sophisticated lawyer, does with it having been pointed out he's completely violated the Constitution to which he swore an oath.
Harry Litman, thanks for breaking it down. Everybody hit subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube, Substack, and podcast. It's the Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And if I can quickly say, Ben, yesterday's Thursday, this whole thing about Martin and his different foibles and sins, and it's a doozy.
Check it out. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.